Walter Williams, thank you for joining us at
Yes.
Heritage's Resource Bank.
Thank you.
In your remarks to the audience, you painted a picture of the government moving in a more totalitarian or exerting more control over the lives of the American people.
Yeah.
Why do you take that view?
Well, if you ask the question, which way are we Americans headed? Tiny steps at a time. Are we headed towards more liberty, or are we headed towards more government control over our lives? And I think it's unambiguously more government control over our lives. And what that means is that as the government controls more and more our lives, we're headed towards totalitarianism. We're not there yet, but we're going there tiny steps at a time.
And how do conservatives or libertarians or those who believe in the principles of liberty and free enterprise and limited government convince the American people that those principles are in fact better for them in the long run?
Well, it's a hard job. That is, there are many Americans who benefit from various forms of government activity. That is, and when I say many Americans benefit from various forms of activity, well, they benefit from the government taking the earnings of one American and getting it to them. And so it's pretty hard sell. But I think that unless we're able to do that, then it spells doom for our country. That is, we're headed in the same way, same direction of great empires of the past. That is, we're doing the kind of things that the Romans were doing, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, and the British. And all those are great empires, and they went down the tubes. And I think that if we continue, we're headed that way as well.
Now, you take an issue like poverty. What is the conservative or free market approach to poverty where the government isn't so controlling over the problem that persists in America today?
Well, I think one of the great things we can say about our country, I think one of the great things, is that just because you know where a person ended up in life, you can't be sure about where he started. There's such mobility in our country, but however, we're losing it. And just one tiny example, that is, one route out of poverty is to be able to own and operate a taxi. You know, to get into, and that does not require a lot of capital. But in many places, there are licensing laws that require that you pay $500,000, $400,000, $700,000 for a license. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are many areas. So if you want to help poor people, I would say, look, free up the economy. Because one of the rather unique features of our country is that we have poor people who came here and became middle class and wealthy. And so we have to say, well, how can we duplicate that today? And so we need to get rid of many of the laws that cut off the bottom rungs of the economic ladder, such as the minimum wage law, occupational licensing laws, various kinds of regulations that cut off the bottom rungs of the economic ladder.
Now, you're teaching undergrads at George Mason University, and I think we've seen throughout the 2016 election, certainly a perception that exists out there about young people and the infatuation with socialism and $15 minimum wage and all these other policies that are kind of antithetical to what conservatives believe. What message do you have for young people today? What can you tell us or enlighten us about their thinking?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it puzzles me the kind of the numbers of young people that are flocking to Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders' message of giving out free education, free this and free that. I don't know what to say, but I say that it's a characteristic of the human beings that we have a tendency to like that the most that does not belong to us, and so politicians exploit that, and I think that there's biblical admonition against that. It says, "Thou shalt not covet that which is thy neighbor's," but we are coveting.
Walter Williams, thanks so much for joining us.
And thank you very much for inviting me.